Alright, so our last video for our rocks and basic rock cycle guide, so make sure you're flipped to the back of your notes where it has a couple of those blanks on the back. So we're going to start talking about the rock cycle. The rock cycle is our next unit, but we kind of touch on it now. Alright, so we've got sedimentary rocks over here, igneous rocks, magma, and metamorphic rocks. So if you look, all the heat and pressure is in purple, which goes to metamorphic rocks. Erosion is in brown, which always goes to sedimentary rocks. Melting, all goes to magma. And then volcanic activity, so an eruption, would lead to igneous rocks. So that's really, in a nutshell, what the rock cycle is. All right, so the first process that shapes the earth is weathering. This is from water, wind, ice, and heat. And it breaks down and wears away rocks into sediments. So in the first blank is weathering. The second one for weathering is breaking down. So breaking down and wearing away of rocks into sediments. The second one is erosion. This is water, wind, ice, gravity. And this is where sediments are moved from one place to another. The third one is deposition. This is sediments that are dropped and they collect in a certain place and it kind of builds up the land. This is where those layers are coming into play. The fourth one is heat, and this is melting and cooling from magma and lava, melting and cooling from magma and lava, and it leads to metamorphism. The fifth one is pressure, and this is buried sediment. It's squeezed by the weight of overlaying layers, so that pressure comes down and that would form a metamorphic rock. And the last one is uplift, and this is where rocks are pushed up to the surface, where weathering and erosion begins. And this is actually where we find those granite pieces. Even Stone Mountain is because of uplift. That's kind of cool. Here is another kind of visual for you where the rock cycle happens. So all the erosion happens and it'll come down, it'll melt and cool, come back up. It might even do some heat and pressure over here because it gets really, really hot when it moves towards the magma, and then eventually it'll melt. We also have this one, sedimentary rock, igneous rock, magma, and metamorphic rocks. This is also another one that you can take a look at too. So with this one right here, this is more similar to the one that you have on your paper. So on your paper it says label the arrows to indicate the processes that change each rock to another. So for igneous rock, on that black arrow that's going to sedimentary rocks, that's what you're going to put weathering and erosion, okay? From going sedimentary rocks to metamorphic rocks, you're going to put heat and pressure, so that lighter arrow that's going towards metamorphic rocks. And then metamorphic rocks to igneous rocks, you would put melting and cooling, and that's the darker arrow. Now if you're going the other way, igneous rocks to metamorphic would be right here, so that would be heat and pressure. Going from metamorphic to sedimentary would be weathering and erosion. And then sedimentary rocks to igneous rocks would be melting and cooling. Okay, so make sure you have all, I think there are 6 arrows that need to be labeled. All right, you can stop here or you can continue on for questions that will possibly be on your quizzes next week. What process was responsible for producing the Grand Canyon? This is very good to know. This will definitely be on a quiz. That is weathering and erosion. A landslide is an example of erosion caused by gravity. So that gravity is pulling all that stuff down, so it creates a landslide. What causes a sand dune to move from one place to another? That would be wind. It has taken almost 2 blank years to create the Grand Canyon in Arizona's fun fact for you. 2 billion years to create the Grand Canyon. How long would it take to go through the rock cycle? And so we know that rocks are non-renewable, so it's going to take them millions of years. Why are metamorphic rocks rarely formed near the Earth's surface? Because there's not enough heat and pressure for them to form. Why is the rock cycle most active at continental plate boundaries? Because there's a ton of heat and pressure going on. Why are most of the Earth's rocks much younger than the Earth as a whole? That's because rocks get recycled. They go through the rock cycle over and over and over again, so it's the same rocks, same sediments that are going through the same thing over and over. And how did the Grand Canyon form? the Colorado River was actually there, that actually formed it with all that weathering and erosion. Alrighty, we're going to stop right there. So, hope you have a great break. Make sure that you bring those notes in. Also, make sure that you get that word search in as well. Have a great break.